Cooking for Health, a community cooking class brought to you by First Choice Community Healthcare, Agricultura Cooperative Network, La Cosecha, and other valued community partners. Welcome back to our Whole Grains Cooking Series. Introducing Fallon Bader of the Sprouting Kitchen, who's joining us once again with a delicious and simple baked oatmeal.
Hey everybody, I'm Fallon Bader. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm going to show you guys a really great whole grain recipe today. We are making an baked oatmeal. So it's kind of like your morning oatmeal, but there's some extra things added in. And also, it's like a baked in a tray, so you could use this for multiple meals. So you kind of cook once and then have these meals for the whole week. All right, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is you want to start with 2 cups of oats. So these are just rolled oats. You don't want like the quick cooking oats. You want just kind of like the big rolled oats. So just 2 cups of oats into a large mixing bowl. And we're gonna mix all of our dry ingredients first. And so let me talk about oats. So oats are a great source of fiber. And fiber is really important for lowering your cholesterol. It also keeps your bowel movements regular, and just a whole slew of many different benefits. And that's usually the benefit of choosing whole grains, is that you get a lot of extra fiber in there. So, when we eat things like white bread or white rice, we're missing out on that fiber. So oats are really just a truly great food to add into your diet. All right, then we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of, this is baking powder. This is gonna help the oats kind of rise in the oven. And then we're gonna add about 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. You can add, more or less depending on, how much cinnamon you like. And then we need just 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So just a little pinch of salt in there. And then just give that a nice stir. The cinnamon already smells so good. And cinnamon's also great for helping to maintain blood glucose levels. So that's a bonus. All right, dry ingredients ready. And now for our wet ingredients. The first thing I want to show you is you need 2 eggs, and you would whisk the eggs, and that's perfectly fine. But if you didn't have eggs on hand, or you wanted to try something different, something new, I'm going to show you how to make a replacement for eggs out of flaxseed. So flaxseed is a seed, and it's really high in omega-3 fatty acids. It's also really high in fiber, and you want to use it in its ground form. So you can see that it's nice and ground here. Our body digests it better when it's ground. So I'm going to show you how to make an egg out of this. Because it's so high in also fiber and omega-3s, when we add water to flax, it actually kind of gels up. So how you do this, for every egg, you need 1 tablespoon of flax and 3 tablespoons of water. But since we're using 2 eggs, we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. And then we need, here's my water, just 6 tablespoons of water, since we did 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. All right, so let me repeat that. 1 tablespoon of flax, 3 tablespoons of water. And then you just wanna give this a really good stir. And okay, so right now it's super liquidy, but we'll come back to this in a few minutes and you'll see it turns into a much thicker egg-like substance. Pretty cool. All right, so next, let me show you how to make some plant milk. So you need about 1 cup and 3/4 of a cup of milk. You can use regular dairy milk if you want, but I wanted to show you a really fast and quick way to make like a nut or plant-based milk. So if you have a blender, I have my blender top here. You just need like a high-speed blender to really mix it well. And so I have here, these are cashews, raw cashews. You want raw nuts. And I soaked these in boiling hot water for about 20 minutes. You can also leave them in the fridge overnight. And for every 1/2 a cup of nuts, you need 2 cups of water. So if you wanted to double this recipe, you could also do 1 cup of nuts to 4 cups of water and have leftover milk for cereal or coffee. And then you just put your top on and blend this on high speed for about 1 minute, and you have yourself delicious milk. So let me blend this. All right, so now my milk is blended, cashew milk is blended. So let me show you what this looks like when we pour it. So I need about just under 2 cups. Look at that, it is creamy, it's frothy. Oh my gosh, it is so good. So, and I have a little bit of extra, so I'll save that for later. So there you go. You can see nice and frothy, super delicious. So I'm gonna add this into our wet ingredient bowl. Goes right on in there. All right, so we need some sweetener. So I'm only using 2 tablespoons. This is regular sugar. You could use honey, maple syrup, whichever you like. I like to keep the sugar pretty low, and if you are craving more sugar after, you can put a little drizzle of honey when you eat it. That's my recommendation. And then let me show you our flax. So it's getting a little bit thicker, and this is gonna really hold everything together really nicely. So we're almost there. We need a little bit of oil. So I have here some melted coconut oil, about 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna add that right on in. Make sure to give it a good stir. Since it's melted, it could, if your ingredients were really cold, it could make the oil kind of solidify. But my ingredients are all kind of room temperature, so it should be okay. And then we need about 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Sorry, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And that's just gonna add some really lovely flavor in there. All right, so just mix that in. Okay, so I think our flax is ready. You can see, oh yeah, nice and thick. And that will go right on into our wet ingredients. Give that a good stir. Really incorporate all those ingredients in there. And it's gonna look kind of like oily milk. That's okay. Let me make sure I got all my ingredients. Awesome. Okay, we're good. So now you want to take your oats, your dry oat mixture, and your wet ingredients and just mix everything together. It's gonna look kind of like, before you make oatmeal, like wet oats. That's good because all that moisture is going to cook the oats in the oven when we cook it. All right, so just let that stir up. The last thing we're going to add is some fruit. So it's fall, so it's totally apple and pear season. So I'm just going to chop up some apples and pears to add that in so we get some nice kind of apple pear kind of crunch in there. And I'm leaving the skin on the apples. I already washed them, so they're nice and clean. And that way, when you keep the skin on, you're also going to get some extra fiber. All right, so I've got, I think the apples are maybe like jazz apples, I think. It doesn't really matter what kind of apple you use. You can kind of use whatever your favorite apple is. That'll do the trick. And I just cut these into some nice kind of wedges, and then I'm just gonna throw these right on in. I think I'll stick with 1 apple, 1 pear. You could add another apple if you wanted it a little more kind of apple heavy. And then once again, just mix it all together. And I can tell the oatmeal is already kind of thickening up. All right, so now you need to grab your tray. I have here kind of like this is actually like a Pyrex baking dish or like Tupperware. I like this one because you get really like thick oatmeal. But you could also use like a 9 by 13 kind of standard baking dish. That'll do the trick as well. Really, whatever you want to use. I lined this with some parchment paper. It makes cleanup so much easier. So I'm a big fan of using parchment paper. And then really just throw your oat mixture right on in here and just flatten it out with your spoon. Just that there. I like to just kind of make sure the apples and pears are nicely distributed. Awesome. And my oven is already preheated to 375, and we're going to throw it in for about 45 minutes, maybe sometimes a little bit longer if you want more of like a crispy oatmeal, but I'll show you what that looks like after 45 minutes. Okay, so this is out of the oven, so let me show you what this looks like. I let it cool a bit, but you can see the top is nice and brown, and if you were to put a knife in here, you want it to come out clean. Kind of like when you're baking a cake. So let's take a piece of this out so you can see what it looks like. And the apples and pears are really soft, so that's what we want. So the first piece is always hard to get out, but you can see you've got just some really nice kind of layers in there. You've got the onions, apple, and it's really just nice and crispy on top, which is what I love, and then nice and soft on the inside. This is really great. I'll probably pair this with a little bit of yogurt and have a delicious breakfast, and you know, this could last multiple meals depending on how many people you're feeding. You can also freeze this. It keeps pretty well in the freezer. Alrighty, well, thank you so much, and hope you enjoyed this video.
Thank you so much, Fallon Bader of the Sprouting Kitchen, for another awesome recipe. Thank you for watching. Tune in for the next fun and healthy recipe from Cooking for Health. Cooking for Health, a community cooking class brought to you by First Choice Community Healthcare, Agricultura Cooperative Network, La Cosecha, and other valued community partners.